Was the meeting properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Clerk, please take roll.
All members are present.
Okay, we have the agenda before us. Do I have a motion to approve? Supervisor Rick Pease, who is the second? Second by Supervisor Scott Pease. Any discussion or questions on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. The agenda is approved. We have the minutes from May 8th. Do I have a? Oh,
Kubarski move approval.
okay. Motion by Supervisor Kubarski, second by Supervisor Paylor. Discussion or questions on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. May 8th minutes are approved. We'll allow public participation as we go along. Correspondence.
I have none.
Okay, so move on to the treasurer's report. The treasurer, she online?
Tyler.
Is Jenny on? No. Well, maybe this is for Cynthia or Kyle, either one, but has there been adjustments made now that the interest rate has gone up? Or are we just kind of carrying it through until we get new budget?
You mean the
Okay.
budget numbers or?
Yeah. So that's one thing. The other thing is I had a question about is payroll. That's not much that's in there. Now, explain that. Is that from other departments that handle their own or?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Yep, so I think what Supervisor Grabarski is referring to is about doing a budget amendment for the revenues brought in for the interest because yeah, we are definitely going to hit the budgeted amount for revenues. I don't think we're going to do a budget amendment on that just because it's extra dollars brought in. If there was going to be associated expenses, then yeah, we would. The payroll account, the process with that is that the treasurer's office, they transfer, I think it's about $500,000 over there each payroll cycle. They don't transfer the exact amount that payroll is. So yeah, that account it has a low ending balance, but they ensure that that enough funds are in there for payroll every payroll cycle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Okay, seeing, yes, Supervisor Scott Pease.
I was wondering if we could get like what we owe on the bonds and stuff posted on some of these reports for the treasurer.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Yep, that's something we could look at. If we can add it in the report. I have that readily available. We also do post it in the budget as well. So there's a whole schedule in the budget.
okay.
I guess my next question would be, if, I know we just did it with one of the bonds, is there talk about maybe paying some of these other, or I think, well, we got one right now, paying them off early or no?
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Yep, the plan is to have that solid waste debt paid off in 2026. Although it is a 20-year bond, the plan was to pay it off after 5 years.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say that with some of the interest rates now going up, we can almost earn more than we can.
That's why I was asking.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe Kyle, next, if you just want to give us the bond schedule. Include in a report next month. I don't think you have to have it every month, but
No,
maybe
no.
quarterly or
Thank you.
so, okay. If we're done with the treasurer's report. We'll go on to human resources report. Oh, my IT, did I skip one? Oh, yeah, sorry, Rich. So, IT report.
Good morning. Are there any questions on this month's report?
You have in there that you moved 5 users to FirstNet, so not everybody's on that yet.
I believe we are maybe about 15 devices that are still on US Cellular.
Okay,
We've got 3 more phones coming in for another area. We've just been kind of moving them as we have opportunities.
okay. And the coverage you found in the county is pretty good with that, or?
Yeah, I think that FirstNet is probably equal to or better than US Cellular.
Okay. Any other questions for IT director? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Now we'll go on to getting off this. Now we'll go on to the human resources report. If Cynthia's going to answer questions, if there's any. The treasurer just came in. Do you have anything to answer on your report? There were a couple questions and Kyle handled them, so. No, it was about if we were going to maybe change the budget for the increased revenues. So. Yeah. So otherwise there was none. So thank you. Thank you for coming up. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything on human resources?
Yeah, John.
Yes.
First of all, I enjoy the way it's printed now. I think it's a lot easier to read. It gives a lot more information. So credit to, and I think I said that last month also. But also just for clarification on the job posting and so forth, we have all the hits versus applicants. And the hits are, just for an example, if I was curious and I went on there and looked, that would be considered a hit. Okay. Low as me. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Supervisor Scott Pease.
This is a question on the landfill solid waste. I see there's 2 truck drivers that resigned. Has the time elapsed for others to make their choice?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yes.
And we still have just 2?
No, we've got what we needed.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Supervisor Rick Pease.
I see that there's 6 positions for Park Age 2. I like this new format also, but every time I hit it, it goes large. So I'm struggling with that. And then there's 2 new hires at Park. So does that mean that goes down to 4, or that still at 6 positions? You see what I'm saying? Is the top part updated compared to what's been hired?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this report is real time.
Okay.
So that's for both parks? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
is there a request to split that out?
No, I just wanted to know if it's real or not.
I mean, between the 2 parks?
No, I just didn't know if that was a total of 12, if 6 at one and 6 at the other.
Okay.
Is there, have you ever thought about possibly, especially with Park Aid 2s that are normally basically summer help, let's say, to possibly go to the school districts that are in our county and give a presentation to some of those kids that would be interested in that? Because sometimes I don't think everybody watches what local government does or look at those postings. And to get that to schools, I think might benefit some people.
Okay.
Or might generate some interest.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I believe there is an outreach where they actually set up booths at events. And I'm talking about our parks. I actually heard about it in a discussion with someone yesterday.
Yes, the county clerk said that the assistant Macy went to the schools. And did outreach, so. Okay, well, thank you. Next, county clerk, no, corporation council report.
Good morning. Just a couple of things that aren't on the report. I'm moved into my new office. It's really nice there, so that's worked out real well. Also, today is Diane's last day. She's retiring, and I want this committee to know how valuable she has been to me. She's really going to be missed, and she's been extremely helpful. So, and she's set me all up for when she's gone. She's got everything in books for me to follow. So, I think she's more concerned about how the office is going to run without her, but she's done a very fantastic job. So I'd like to thank her.
So
I think
Supervisor
that's-
Grabarski,
Yeah, I've worked with her through the years as well, and she's been an asset to this county. I think I read it was 15 years.
Yes.
So congratulations to her from this committee, and John can reemphasize that, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Thanks.
so Supervisor Scott Pease, did you ever?
Yeah, I guess I was gonna reiterate what Bob said, but when you don't hear a lot from a department like that, it's running smooth, and congratulations on her retirement.
Well, and all the work she did in the transition too before. It's probably easier for Jeff, when Jeff came in, to know where everything was with Bob Breesen and everything like that, so.
Exactly. Yes.
Was there anything else on the corp council report that? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. County clerk's report.
Any questions?
Okay. Seeing none. Adams County Economic Development, Derek's here.
Good morning. Just a few things.
Grab the mic your way, please, so, because there are people.
How's that?
That's good.
All right. Just a few things to run through quickly. So you may recall a few months ago, we were steering businesses towards the Main Street Bounce Back program that ended in December, actually. But Adams County businesses ended up taking advantage of that. I think we ended up with 15 businesses got $150,000 from that. So the last one was a business called Books on Main, which is exactly what it sounds like, a bookstore that'll open on Main Street, 301 Main in Friendship. So I think that's right across the street over here. They'll open at 10 a.m. on June 17th. So they're supposed to have, excuse me, 8,000 different titles of books, and then more on the way. So if you have a chance, please stop over and check that out. We continue to work with the RPN on those projects. Create Adams County actually also has some new podcasting equipment and camera equipment that came in through grants received from Create Portage County. So we now have a checkout procedure for equipment. There is actually a lot of equipment that we have not received yet that will still be coming in, but we have a 3D printer. Everything is stored in the building in a locked cabinet. So it'll be great to kind of get that equipment that we didn't have access to before and let creative people get in that building and create things. The new chamber director is about 1 month into the job. So Megan's been kind of just running around the county, introducing herself to people. She's been doing a good job. She's really made an effort to reach out to people who maybe had past chamber memberships and decided not to renew them or drop them for whatever reason. The last month, I think she's brought 8 or 10 of those former members back on board, which is great. And then finally, right now I'm spending a lot of time, I know I've mentioned it on my report to the county board, working with a potential potato processing facility. So just to refresh everyone's memory, several months ago, we were approached, local potato growers were approached by a firm, consultant out of Belgium, who was looking for acreage to grow 8 to 10 different varieties of yellow flesh potatoes. I think they're working with 4 or 5 different growers. Each grower is doing roughly 25 acres of these varieties of potatoes that they grow in Europe to see if they'll grow in Wisconsin. If they grow in Wisconsin like they think they're going to grow in Wisconsin, the company is interested in setting up a potato processing facility. Where that facility is going to wind up is still up in the air, and that's kind of what we're working on. The developer looked at several locations in Canada and the United States. They eliminated Canada. They were working in Idaho, Wisconsin, and I want to say one other state. They eliminated Idaho. Anyway, we're down to just Wisconsin. Where in central Wisconsin they want to locate is still to be seen. But I talked to the consultant on a regular basis. They do like Adams County. They like the feel of it. If they believe the potatoes will grow just fine in our soil here. So today at lunch, we actually have a meeting with Cynthia, my board, some elected representatives, and then some representatives from Wisconsin Economic Development to determine what the best way forward is as far as putting a plan together, figuring out exactly what incentives Adams County and the state can offer the consultant and the company to locate here. So they are interested in rail, which might provide a challenge. But it's good to know that they do like Adams County. We do have land available, so we're hopeful. The consultant and I think the CEO of the company will be back probably in late June. And they wanted to look at some sites at that time, so we'll be working on that. That's all I have. If anybody has questions.
Supervisor Scott Pease and then Supervisor Rick Pease.
On the money you're talking about for these small businesses to start up, is that a loan or is it just $10,000?
That's a flat $10,000 grant. And what that was for is if you, I'm going to forget my dates now. There was a period of time, it was a 2-year period when they determined COVID hit. And when it went, it was a 2-year period where if you leased or purchased a commercial facility or a business, an empty business building, then you could get the $10,000 grant.
Is there a commitment on how long they got to be open or
No,
there's no restrictions at all on it?
no, it was by far the easiest, fastest grant I've ever seen. You could literally fill out the information in 15 minutes and have it into us. Really, the most challenging part was just waiting. I had to do for the Adams County businesses, I had to find time to do letters for all of them. Which means all I had to do is review their leases and make sure that they had a lease in place and type up a letter and submit that. But it was really easy to get. And I'm 100% sure that they did have folks who would lease buildings or spots for $300 a month and get the $10,000 grant with no intention of, not here, because I believe all of ours are actually in business, but that certainly took place, but the state did not seem concerned with that.
Is there any grounds where you could refuse somebody?
So I did not do that, just because my only part in it was to look to see if they had a lease, and they all did. So that all ran through North Central Wisconsin Regional Planning. So I'm sure there were businesses that were turned down for various reasons, but that would be their call.
Thanks, Jared.
On that same token, I'm on that committee and you wouldn't believe the amount of money. They even extended it for a period of time for that. And they had horror stories of bakery in Michigan that leased a building like every 8 months from one town to the next town to the next town and got that money because those people weren't doing their jobs, like checking out what that person was doing. They caught it on the third one. So yes, I think that we've done it. I was asking him, could we get a list of those businesses? Because they're new to the community and I think people.
Yeah,
should
we
know.
can. And I think Cynthia maybe asked me for that before it was available, but it is available now. So I will get that over. Yeah.
Yep, just send it to the committee or whatever. and
Okay.
I think we would all like to know what is doing our
Or if you
town.
want to put it in your report, your monthly report for this month.
Oh, yeah. I can attach it to that.
Yeah.
Derek, one more question. Could existing businesses get any of that money?
Yes, in the sense that they backdated the date. So if you entered, I can't remember the year even. If you entered into business in June of 21, that'd be fine because the start date, was January of 21. So yeah, you could get it if you were already in business, or if you just moved locations, you could get it, or if you started and if you were already in business for the 6 months or whatever before it became available, yeah.
One of the big things was that it had to take up vacant commercial space. That was the big thing. So if you moved your business, you might have opened vacant commercial space, but you could still get the money.
Yeah.
Supervisor Kubarski. Oh,
Just another question regarding this Books on Main or whatever now, that would be books for sale, correct? I mean, this isn't the second library.
Correct. No, it's a bookstore.
Okay.
Yep.
And let's see the other part of it. Oh, regarding the potential potato processing or what have you. If you can think about diffusing a situation where people are concerned about water usage, probably put some effort into that, because that has held up some businesses that wanted to come in the past.
Okay. Thank you.
sorry, you were maybe gonna say something there, Derek, before, see.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. It must not have been important.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, thanks, Derek, for the updates. We'll move on then to the county manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. I'm going to start out with appreciation. So special recognition is given to Jane Lentz Jervis for seeking and being awarded a grant under special circumstances. And you can see the little write-up there about the quick turnaround that had to happen. Congratulations to Jane Lentz Jervis, and thank you for a job well done. Under NACO graduates, the county participates in the NACO, which is a National Association of Counties Leadership Academy. The goal is to have all our department heads and managers take the program. And then here are the most recent graduates, and I'll just call them out. Chris Jefferson, Dustin Grant, Kyle Johnson, Lyanna Glavin, Melissa Sager, and Rich Huck. So congratulations to the NACO graduates, and thank you for a job well done. Page 2, under capital projects. Here are some updates on the capital projects. Veterans Memorial, concrete to be poured in the next few weeks. No, I'm looking at Supervisor Grabarski. That was a mistake, sorry. Under roof, the bids are out and they're due on Monday, July 10th, 2023 at 11 a.m. Fairgrounds, the same thing. We have bids out and they're due Friday, June 30th, 23 at noon. County Highway M, moving, progress is being made, so utility relocation continues. Under happenings, solid waste clean sweep, another successful event, and I do a little write-up there on that. Underneath that, I touch on the discontinuation of solid waste subscription-based services. I provided quite a bit of information on that proceeds on to page 3. Under Adams County Visionary Community Network, we're now splitting off into subgroups. So those have been officially formed. And I'll just list them here. Housing development to include multi-family units. That is our signature project. Underneath that, in no particular order, is the Railroad Bridge project that Derek touched on just a moment ago with the potato processing plant. And that includes Spurs. And that will also kind of attract people to our area as far as businesses. The third one, expand broadband, improve municipal downtown, and workforce expansion. Student Government Day, another successful event here at the county. And we go on to page, well, actually skip to page 6. In the middle of the page there, I had a meeting with the sheriff to discuss changing shifts for dispatch from 8-hour shifts to 12-hour shifts. The sheriff believes that this will take care of our retention and also recruitment in those areas. On down, I attended the economic development meeting and have some bullet point subject matters that I pulled out there for your attention. Underneath that, I had my quarterly meeting with Jamie Giebert, same thing. Usually we just meet right after the economic development meeting, and then some call outs there as well. Are there any questions on my report?
Supervisor Scott Pease and then Supervisor Rick Pease.
When you talk with department heads about, like, say, the 12-hour shifts, you're reiterating to them that they got to show that's going to be no cost to the county?
Mr. Chair. So with that, there is going to be overtime in that schedule. However, the overtime now that we're facing, it's actually going to be a savings. So 8 hours to 12, there's actually a savings. And I did express to the sheriff that in future, if this doesn't prove to be so, that, you know, that we can't, that overtime doesn't really go down, then we're going to have to revisit this. And, you know, if we're not getting recruitment and if we're not having retention, we're going to revisit this. This is sort of dynamic.
So is there a timetable, or you haven't really pinpointed a year, 2 years, 5 years?
I would say a year.
Okay.
Supervisor Rick Pease in.
He kind of covered some of the stuff I'd like to cover on that. But my other thing is, he has 2 positions opened. If he gets fully hired, are they going back? Are they going to continue on this path? I guess if he was fully staffed, and that would be a normal 8-hour shifting staff, because that's how it used to be, why would you not go back to that in lieu of going 12-hour shifts and then creating that overtime?
Mr. Chair. So yes, we are aware that some of the overtime that's happening right now is because there's vacant positions people are having to fill in. So again, this is why we're going to revisit it. That's why I put that caveat out there when I was having the discussion with the sheriff. So he tends to think that this will help his recruitment. You know, we have vacancies now. So in order to fill those vacancies, he feels like the 12-hour shift is a marketable tool.
I know there's such things in that department as call-ins, and could they possibly get called in on their vacation days then and stuff? Because I know there's lots of shifts opening there. Is there some workaround that they're doing so people that actually have those scheduled days off are getting those days off?
Mr. Chair, I don't know if the sheriff is on right now, but I'm not able to answer that. And
He can always answer that in PS&J too.
okay,
If I can interject, this is Dave Carlson.
Okay.
From the sheriff's office.
Yes, go ahead,
Or-
please.
If I can have the floor. As far as keep in mind, when you have 12-hour shifts, you don't have as many people that you need to fill those shifts. So the chances of being called in on their day off is less likely on a 12-hour shift. Does that
Right.
answer your question?
It does, but it doesn't. The question really is, Dave, is can they get called in, like, if they're on their weekend, let's say, and it's a Saturday and they have things planned, can they get called in and have to change their plans then?
Yeah, that is no different.
Voluntarily.
That is no different than what's happening now. What's happening now is most of these dispatchers are working. A lot of them were working, we had one stretch where they're working 20 some days with not a day off. So we're hoping that this helps. Again, we don't need as many people to work during the day, that 24-hour schedule. So it'll allow us to have other ones off without being called in.
Thank you.
Supervisor Kubarski.
Yeah, what Scott brought up earlier, somehow that needs to have a concrete time period, not just in a year, we'll look at it. I mean, that needs to be in print, so you got something that says we will refer to this at a certain time. I would highly encourage you get something in writing.
Any other questions on the report or? Okay, we'll move on to the project status report. Kyle?
Are there any questions on the projects going on?
Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the ARPA work group report.
Yep. You'll see the town of Quincy fiber project that has started. So we did make the first installment payment on that. We did receive an update from Marquette Adams on the fiber projects as well. The new CEO reached out to us. So they're just running into a few issues related to DNR regulations and moving the project forward at a faster rate. All the way down at the bottom. Oh, not quite that far, Lyanna. A little higher. All right, you'll see the total funds spent about 1.5 million, total funds obligated about 2.2, anticipated projects about 318,000. However, of that, 118,000 is HHS wages and benefits, which I spoke with Kelly about, and we may not necessarily go forward with that proposal. So we should still have the funds available. We may not go forward with reimbursing all of those costs. And then you'll see it says negative 25,414, but that's because of the anticipated projects, which one of them we don't have a proposal going forward. The other one is the splash pad. Any questions?
Okay, don't see any. So we'll move on then to number 15, discuss and/or act on. So the first one's the resolution for the splash pad.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so I'll begin with, I want to call out some of the whereas statements there at the bottom of the page. So one of the purposes for outdoor space parks is to improve spaces in areas that have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic and can include improving park space that will benefit the health and wellness of the community. And whereas, in addition to the financial commitment, there will be a time commitment provided by the county manager, administrative coordinator, and any other county staff needed to assist in moving the project forward. And whereas the county plans to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the city of Adams so that each has expectations well defined as to who is responsible for certain aspects of the project development. So this resolution fits well into our strategic plan in attracting talent. And within that category, addressing the pleasure component of amenities.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Yep, I want to point out the fiscal note on there. If you recall, we did receive $100,000 of local assistance and tribal consistency funds. So we're using that 100,000 there and then 100,000 of ARPA.
Mr. Chair, I would like to also add that I'm hearing, I haven't confirmed, but I heard that the city of Adams has also now committed some of their ARPA funds for the same project.
And I guess, I mean, if that's going to be the case, we should know that when it goes to county board, so that could be stated. So Supervisor Scott Pease and then Supervisor Grabarski.
I'm speaking for this. I think we've taken care of quite a bit of the community, but we haven't done a lot for the younger people in this community, and I think it's a good idea. With that being said, I think maybe there should be some sort of matching funds or some sort of campaign that we can get going here, or the city can do to even if it's over the cost of what this is gonna be, is to help the city of Adams perpetually keep up with the maintenance of it. If I'd like to see that go forward if it could.
Mr. Chair, something I'd like to add is this year, a lot of the municipalities and counties are seeing an increase in the shared revenue. And we did, when I say we, Kyle and I looked into the city of Adams, and it looks like they're going to have a pretty big bump, almost 90,000. Kyle, you can confirm that. And we're estimated at the high end for maintenance to be 25,000. However, Kyle and I did a calc using the volume of water usage up in Rome, which we can imagine that would be a high number, and using their current rate over here, the city of Adams, for utilities. And we came up with an estimate of 7,000 a year. So it should fall well within their budget.
Supervisor Gabarsky.
All right, I have some concerns, like the size of the pad. Is this some sort of standard thing for that? Does it have to be supervised on every time it's open? And what is this pad actually gonna cost? Is that preliminary or? And how much is City Adams willing to contribute? I would assume that's going across from M&I Bank in that area? No? Okay, then I need to know where it's gonna go.
Mr. Chair. So to address the size, the average size, there's not really a size requirement. You decide in how many of the features you want. But the 3 splash pads, so Mauston, up in Rome, and then also Westfield, are all in the 3,500 range, 3,500 square feet. And as far as supervision, no supervision required, no lifeguard on duty. Usually the parents are just sitting in benches watching their little ones enjoy the water. And as far as a cost range, when I did the study, it was between 220,000 up to 550,000. You can imagine the 550,000 is Rome. They went big, and it's not just about the splash pad. They have a whole lot of other amenities that surround the splash pad. And the mid-range was Mauston. They put in a jungle gym. So Westfield is probably closer. It depends on how big we want to go. So anyway, that's the range. That's the dollar range that was shared with me.
Supervisor Rick Pease.
Some of the stuff you can see Cynthia put out the video of her presentation to the city of Adams, which was, I was there that night and it was very well done. Congratulations to you on that. This is a good thing for our citizens. It's a good thing for our visitors. It's a good thing for the kids. And I know there's a concern about maintenance costs. I'm with Scott that we need to start some fund to help the city pay for those maintenance costs. Even if they get $90,000, remember they had to take almost $200,000 out of their contingency fund just to balance their budget this year. So I know they're concerned as well about this. That's how come when Cynthia talked to the city, they talked about partnerships with Gunderson, with Southwood County YMCA, other stakeholders in the community to get those maintenance costs in line. Hopefully we can see a fund that will support that maintenance for many, many years to come. So with that, I'll make the motion and we approve this.
Okay. We had the motion on the floor. Any discussion or questions? Supervisor Paylor.
Unless I missed it, one of Bob's questions was how much money is the city going to put up to this? And I did not hear an answer to that.
Mr. Chair, the night of the presentation, I think that was the first step in getting things rolling, discussions about funding are certainly on the horizon. And as I shared with you earlier, that it has come to my attention that they have dedicated some ARPA funds. I don't know how much, but I will be prepared at the board to talk about where some of this matching is coming from.
Supervisor Paylor.
So what we're voting on is to allot them $200,000. Then is this splash pad a city splash pad or is it a county splash pad? After we approve the $200,000, are we done at that point? Is it go over to the city then?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So would like to commit the 200 for the project. It is a city project. And where the location is going to be is Burt Morris Park. I sort of, if you watch my presentation, I show where a potential location for it would be, but I don't know what's underneath that area. There's some other limitations on why we couldn't build the splash pad there, but my involvement is going to be all the way through the completion. So if there's a bid process, all of that, getting an engineer, I'm going to assist them because that was a concern of theirs in Public Works, because he's pretty strapped with projects that have been sort of kicked down the road and he wants to focus on getting those things realized. And that's why I offered to assist. And, because I'm passionate about it too, because it's, it's a whole community thing. It's not just the city. It's, it benefits all of us and other local municipalities, because now we're going to draw families to stay here instead of going to Boston and spending dollars out there for going to lunch, whatever, entertaining, but keep those families here or even draw them from different areas. Let's draw them from Boston. If we have a really big splash pad here, it might draw people from out of the area.
Supervisor Scott, please.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Darren. Is there any grant money, or I know you worked a lot with the YMCA as far as funding for something like this? Is there any way that Cynthia can approach any of those angles?
Yeah, there's none that I know of, but that doesn't mean we couldn't ask the why, or I don't know if Cynthia has approached them or Aspirus or Gunderson. Just for kind of corporate donations. I know the one in Rome was funded by the Legacy Foundation out of Wisconsin Rapids. And I actually approached Legacy about 5 or 6 years ago about doing a splash pad in Burt Morris. And it was immediately dismissed because we're just too far south and that's a Wood County focused organization. So even going to Rome, I was told at that time was a stretch. So to answer your question, I don't know of anything, but we definitely could investigate further.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to share that there are certain other grant opportunities. I did have Cody Pizbilski join in with me in the presentation, and he shared with me that there's some other grants that might also help with the equipment. There's also Parks and Rec equipment grants out there. So there's funds out there. We just need to know where to look. And the first step is getting this past the board, because now we can all move forward, because without these funds right here being committed first, it's probably not going to go
It would
forward.
die.
So we have to wait. I don't want to put a lot of effort into something before funds are committed, and also then having the MOU in place about who's doing what and then what the expectations are and how we meet those particular goals.
Supervisor Kubarski.
Yeah, a couple of things. So being of my conservative nature, I certainly had some doubts about this. I did talk to some people that have used with some grandkids, their one up in Rome. They were very pleased with what went on there. And as far as the location, there's a retention pond right next door. You can always, never mind.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, we considered that. No. So the retention pond or retention creek, whatever you call that there, that's why it is an ideal location, because right next to it is where I had envisioned the splash pad being. There's 2 types of water. So you can either recycle the water or you can drain it away. And so it's convenient to go right into that ditch. So I think it was meant to be.
I think she's talking about the water going out of the city. He's talking about the pond behind county market.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're talking about two
Two
different
different
things.
Any other questions? Okay, we had the motion to approve this and move it on to county board. All in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Okay. Resolution is approved and we'll move on to county board. So, next, go right ahead, Supervisor Scott, please.
I know it's kind of lengthy, but if that presentation can be made before that, I think it'll go a long way into describing exactly what they're looking at.
Or an
I watched it,
Or
it
an
was-
abbreviated presentation.
Right, there's a lot of questions and answers at the end. I think you could cut out. Just the presentation itself would probably help.
Supervisor Kubarski.
Yeah, it's something I forgot to ask or clarify. That was the tribal funds deal. Now, we got half of it and then the other half is to come yet? Or you want to explain exactly that where that 100 or how it's going to come forth?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, we had already received the 100,000. It was $50,000, I think, at the end of 22 and another 50,000 at the start of 2023. It was sort of part of ARPA, but they gave us the money separately. So I wanted to call that out with the fiscal note there, that we're using $100,000 of local assistance and tribal consistency funds. And then the other 100,000 is ARPA.
And is there any criteria? This isn't the only thing you could spend it for, is that correct?
Right, yeah, it has similar rules as ARPA. I believe it might even be the same rules.
Mr. Chair. So just because I thought I heard a recommendation out there about the presentation. So I did send out an email to department heads and supervisors with an attachment, a link that goes right to the video. And I know at the end, I wanted to include all the Q&A because I thought it was important that everybody hear what was asked and how we responded. So are you wanting me to have a presentation as part of a meeting, or do you want me to send that out again, or how do I?
she sent it out in an email,
Mhm.
attachment to an email.
So I think what I'll do then is just send out another email communication saying reminder, maybe perhaps watch this video before the board meeting.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I'll do.
Supervisor Paler.
I have just a quick question for Kyle. If I do my math correctly, we take another 100,000 out of ARPA, that leaves us with a balance of about 100,000 left, right?
We had that in that.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if you look at the report here, it's actually negative 25,000, but that Health and Human Services staffing stuff, that's kind of like a pending project. We haven't presented anything yet. And essentially what we're going to do, if there's any ARPA funds left, then we'll spend it on staffing costs for HHS.
So the answer to the question is ARPA funds are now depleted.
Mr. Chair. Kyle, do you want to maybe talk on the Wi-Fi that is still out there for the parks?
Yes, so if that Wi-Fi project goes forward again to the county board, yeah, the ARPA funds are just about depleted. There's going to be less than 20,000 left. So, because you got to kind of add that 118,000 back in because it's not going to be that full amount. Actually, I probably could just adjust the report to make that a 0 for now, and then whatever's remaining will go to that. So that way it's not so confusing.
Scott, please.
Mr. Chair, was that voted on and defeated or was it tabled?
That was voted on and defeated.
So What is,
There's been a supervisor that was voting on the defeated side that
we'll have to bring it back.
wants to bring it back. Supervisor Rick Pease.
I know we're treading on where we are in the agenda where this probably should be talked about, but my research shows that that time has passed for her to, for that person to put that back on the agenda.
Actually, it can be done the very day or the next meeting day. So this would be the next meeting.
I have kind of researched that. I don't find it where it says the next meeting day.
Yeah.
So I will give you what I have and then you could give me what you have. I'd appreciate it.
Oh, sure. I
We'll
will
do
do
that
that.
after the meeting.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay. Did we vote on that? No. Yeah, we did vote on that.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
Supervisor.
still a
Pettit.
little confused with Kyle's question. So as long as we're talking about this subject, is there $75,000 available from ARPA for that?
Yes.
And if that does come forward, we'll have to have that information available for the county board. So, okay. Next we'll go on to the next resolution. I know who's covering this. Kyle, or are you covering this or?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Yep. So we've been having meetings with Gunderson Mountain View. I mean, Kelly, Wendy, and myself, about a prescription drug assistance fund. This is going to be simply a custodial fund that the county is going to hold. There's not going to be any county dollars associated with it, or county tax dollars associated with it. Gunderson Mountain View, I believe, has already stated that they'll commit, I think, $5,000 to it. So this is just to set up a custodial fund to assist the residents of Adams County with their prescription drug cost. And I don't know if Kelly wants to elaborate any further on that.
Kyle, I would just add that this was something that Mountain View kind of identified as a challenge in the community. The pharmacy was seeing more individuals or residents struggling to be able to pay some of their prescription costs. Like Kyle said, there would be no tax levy in this fund. Mountain View, Gunderson Mountain View has designated $5,000 to go towards it. When there was funds available, people can come. There's a form for the pharmacist or the pharmacy to complete. There's a cap on the amount per person per year. And when there's funding, and when the funding runs out, then of course we would not be issuing any of the funds. I don't know if there's any questions about that.
Supervisor Scott Pease.
So if we're keeping track of the funds, I take it, there'll be some administrative costs, correct?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. It'd just be staff time mainly. It's similar, so the custodial fund, it's similar to the barn fund that we did for 4-H.
Supervisor Gursky has a question on that.
Not necessarily that, but this whole thing is, I have a thought that what happens if they would just charge less for it? It's just a thought. That's one thing, and I don't know, it doesn't appear to be sustainable, not unless you continue to fund it. I'm not sure why the county should be in the middle of this.
Can I say, one of the reasons that they asked us to be a part of the conversation was they felt, unfortunately, Gunderson is the only pharmacy in Adams County. However, our residents do use pharmacies outside of the county. So it would not only be specific to the local pharmacy would be for any Adams County resident. Yes, we all agree the $5,000 is not a lot of money and can go very quickly. We're hopeful that there might be some other additional grants that we or people in the community can apply for throughout the year to build that fund up.
Supervisor Taylor?
Well, I kind of agree along the same lines as Bob is saying. And first off, if Gunderson is the only one putting up funding for this, why don't they administer it themselves? Keep it right in-house. I mean, they have our pharmacy, they have the hospital, I'm sure they have the office staff. Why are we getting involved? And secondly, there's so many other programs, overlying programs for low-income people to get funding from other sources. That are we just putting something on top of another fund, just layer upon layer?
Can I respond to that?
Please. Yes, go ahead, please.
Gunderson is not able to do that. That would be a conflict of interest for them to, because they are the one who are prescribing the medications and then giving the discount that is conflictual for them. But they've identified a need, and it is based on people of all sorts of income, not just low income, especially seeing challenges with people who are elderly, struggling to pay for those prescriptions. So that is why Gunderson is not able to do the fund, and they'd asked us as a community agency to be willing to do that. It's similar to how we disperse Salvation Army funds already. The other thought is individuals in situations like this, we may be able to connect them to other resources that they are no longer connected to or have not ever connected to.
Supervisor Kubarski?
Yeah, when Gunderson bought out the pharmacy there from whoever used to run it, Phillips, okay. They kind of made the promise that, you know, they're going to keep stuff in line and so forth. And yet when you try, or when these other programs, Good RX, and there's several that are out there and they won't accept them. And now they come up with this, or somebody comes up with this deal where it's going to help people pay for their prescriptions when they're, and I don't know how these other programs work. I really don't, but I guess I don't understand why they don't use something like them that are already in place.
Supervisor Rick Pease?
The best thing I heard Kelly say out of this is this may help us in outreach to help other people go to different programs. We'll now know if people need different services and we can point them in the right direction. And I think that's the important part of this for the county's sake, is to be able to serve people that we don't know are out. That's one of the big things when we said on Health and Human Services, who are we reaching and who are we not reaching is always been the big question. So if this even gets us one or two people that can find something within the county services or state services, I think this could possibly be a good thing. I agree with both of you guys that this is kind of crazy, $5,000, that might be gone in a month. But on the same token, if we can help somebody else mental health wise or otherwise, I think this might be a good thing. And that's why I'd be for it. It isn't necessarily for us just doing it because we're good stewards, but it's also us helping our county people find the right avenues to help.
Mr. Chair, also a program like this lines up with our strategic plan. Again, we're going to always keep going back to that these are little successes we can have with outreach, and then also addressing our aging community. All this stuff is part of our strategic plan. So it's not so far out of reach of that. So everything that we try to do in efforts with the community lines up well with our strategic plan.
Supervisor Scott Pease?
I think we should have a good relationship with Gunderson too. I at first was skeptical about this, but there's other things that we've asked Gunderson for, and I don't want to get into them at this meeting, but I think having a good relationship with them is a good thing.
I guess I'll make the motion. That's what you're looking for, right, John?
Yes, yes.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to move the resolution forward to county board. Okay, got a second? Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay.
Hey,
Okay. We have 3 and 2, so motion is approved. We'll move on to county board. Next item is set budget direction. Finance director is going to handle that. Kyle?
Yep. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So this is the budget instructions that we put together. It's very similar to previous years. One thing I do want to point out right here, Diana. We under wages and benefits. The wages are going to be budgeted using the recommendation of McGrath Human Resources Group. We should have the results of that study, I believe, this month. Right now, going further, we have a placeholder of 9% for health insurance premium increase. And then HSA is going to be funded the same. County is going to pay the same percentage rate for health insurance. Those are the key points. So those are the instructions. I also have the timeline linked. Scroll back up, Lyanna. Oops, down. There's a blue link right there. It says budget timeline on the first page. There you go. So this is the budget timeline. Today is the admin and finance meeting. And then I'm going to distribute the packets next week to all department heads. Going down further to some key dates for committees. On October 6th, we're going to have an admin and finance meeting. That date may change depending on all of your schedules, but that's when we intend to have the budget presentation to be reviewed by admin and finance. Going down a little further, October 17th is going to be the county board meeting, and we're going to have the budget presentation for that meeting. October 18th is the date that we need to have a final proposed budget. So we're probably going to have a admin and finance meeting on that date, because October 18th by noon, we have to have the budget publication to the newspaper so they can print it by October 25th. Because we need to allow 15 days of public notice in the paper, and our paper runs on Wednesday. Our board meetings are on Tuesdays. And then November 14th is the public hearing and the county board meeting at 9:30 a.m. And that's when we intend to have the budget adopted. Are there any questions for me?
When does it have to go to the state? When do we have to?
On November 15th.
Yeah, we talked about that at the county board again, if you remember it, about maybe doing it a week earlier.
Yep. And then that would push everything else a week earlier. The board rules state that I got it somewhere here. I was working on a presentation because also the committee of the whole meeting for county board is going to be about budget.
Mhm.
So the annual meeting for county board in the board rules.
I know it's stated in there on the second Tuesday of the month,
Yeah,
November, but we talked about it at the last meeting, I think, again, wasn't it? At the last meeting, we talked
about having it a week earlier.
Yeah, I mean, even if we look at the 9th of November or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and And somebody has.
Because wasn't there a change at the last minute that if we're changing things on November 14th, it's gotta be on November 15th, that's.
Some of the board members didn't like that.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna work on this till we get it done, and they didn't really like being
Under the gun.
shoehorned about that, and I
Mhm.
I get that.
Yep.
Looking at my calendar, I know I have a conference on the 13th, 14th and 15th of November
Mhm.
right now, so.
Yeah, if we had it on the 9th, that wouldn't change any timelines. Because we would then have a 15-day notice still. So we could do it on the 9th, which is a Thursday. And that wouldn't change any of the other timelines.
Is that the one day you got open? John?
I'm here all that week. I've got open all that week I see right now, so. No, I've got the 7th, 8th and that, but if we didn't want to go on the 7th, like, I think we talked about it at one of the county board meetings. I don't know if it was this last county board meeting that we talked about that date. We were looking forward at dates. So,
Mhm.
but if we go to the 7th, then you say that we might have to push it back, right? Kind of all the other dates.
Yeah, then everything will have to get pushed back, because ideally we
Because,
want to have
right,
the
The notice in the paper has to be done a week earlier then, so.
yeah, that has to be done a week earlier, and then because I put the notice in the paper based on the adopted resolution from admin and finance. So that's when I actually put the notice in the paper after the budget resolution's adopted. So then that would push the budget presentation forward a week, which would push October's county board meeting forward a week. Yeah,
Okay.
and then so we'd have kind of messed up county board meeting schedule for October and November.
I
For
mean,
2 months, rather than just one.
How's the 9th work out for people here? Yes,
Question I have on that. The county board rules say it has to be the second Tuesday, so do we have to move forward with a 2/3 vote in order to change the rules? And if so, maybe we should get that on the agenda right away.
right. That's why I'm asking. I mean, if it works for us right now here, the 5 of us, if that would be something that we gotta move and get the agreement by the county board. Yeah. So we'll look at that and we'll get that right. And that's why I'm asking here right now. I mean, we sort of have to get right. Work on that now and Kyle would rather know now than 3 months from now, I would assume. So we could
Yeah.
put it on the agenda for this next county board meeting at the end of the meeting, so, or somewhere, so. But if it works for this group, at least we got a date, so. And I don't know about time. I mean, we can address the time to see if they want to have it at. It's always been at 9 o'clock and. Part of me says, I mean, is it better to have it at 6 o'clock at night? So you have more public available if they want to have, it's a public hearing, you know, how many people can show up for a public hearing at 9 o'clock in the morning? They can if they want to take off, but. So,
Mr. Chair.
yes,
Yeah, I'll point out too that the board rules don't state what time. So we've just always had it at that 9:30 time for whatever reason since I've been here. So
yeah,
open to change.
yes,
The only other date you'd have to change is the one just above there, correct?
right. Otherwise, we'd be fine on the other dates. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Is the county manager?
Because
6
that would,
PM
the
for
one
everybody
above
else?
that would go November 6th to the 8th or 9th. County.
Yeah, those ones, I'm more concerned with the public meetings. Those ones are more internal meetings. So yeah, those dates I would change as well.
Okay.
Budget book I would distribute probably earlier as well.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, what does everybody think about a 6 o'clock meeting or 5 o'clock meeting or whatever instead of 9:30 or 9 o'clock? Normally it's been 9 o'clock, I think, and then
9:30,
9:30.
because this is what the board rules say.
And that's just for the budget and no other meeting is involved, right? Correct?
Right.
I think that's fine with me.
Budget.
It depends what else is on the county board agenda at that time. So. 6, I mean, yeah, it says normal times are 9:30 or 6 o'clock, so. But if we're gonna be voting on it, I mean, we'd recommend the time. Supervisor Kubarski?
Just a question regarding direction of the budget itself. At what time or when could we have some input on that?
Right now. That's what
Okay.
you're looking for, right,
Well,
Kyle?
What I
Yeah,
was concerned about is, all right, so you got 9% already on insurance is what we're talking. We don't have the percentage on wages and so forth yet. And typically health insurance is 85%, I believe, the county pays. I would certainly like to maybe take a look at that and maybe share some more of that with the employees.
County manager?
Mr. Chair, Kyle, do you want to touch on that? Because I see on your timeline there, we have meetings prior to November with the Administrative and Finance Committee, and then also we do have discussions with department heads. Do you want to kind of touch on that?
yep, Mr. Chair. So in, I believe in September is when we want to present preliminary budgets to all the different committees. I'm just looking here. Yeah, it's like August, September timeframe is when we're going to present the different departmental budgets to the committees, and then October we'll follow back up with the committees on any changes we've made since they've seen the initial proposed budget. 'Cause the way that it works is the departments have their proposed budget. We meet with the department heads in September and go through and make any recommended changes or basically any changes. Then we'll go to the committee again in October and we'll summarize those changes for them.
I'm a little concerned that that timeline is going to get come up a little bit too fast, and that because there would be some discussion if we decided that it would be a good thing to share some of that health insurance with the employees. Certainly they would resist, and I don't blame them, but we just closed something at the landfill because we didn't think it was sustainable part of our budget anymore. And here we're looking at increased expenses. So I think it merits at least looking into. And do it in a time slot so we could actually discuss it and take some action.
Okay, Rick Pease?
Going back to the date, if we're gonna have something on the 9th, I would like us to actually just to, because you said you would think that we'd have more participation at 6 o'clock, possibly with the public for that. Why wouldn't we just have a budget meeting and pass the budget and then still have our normal meeting on the 14th? Just because we don't want it to last past midnight or whatever, just do the budget. You think you're gonna have more people come in, talk about it and stuff. And then do our regular meeting on the 14th, just as normal, and the budget will already be passed. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, as long as everybody, yeah, right, and then we just concentrate on the budget, and that's what we talk about. Yeah,
So, Mr. Chair, we'd probably consider that special meeting.
well, it's the annual meeting, right? I mean,
Oh,
that's what it's
okay.
described at in statutes.
Says every board shall hold an annual meeting on the Tuesday after the second Monday of November in each year for the purpose of transacting business. But then it goes on to say any board may establish by rule an earlier date during October or November for the annual meeting, and may by rule establish regular meeting dates throughout the year at which to transact general business.
Yeah, so we could do that. Yeah. Okay. So that's what we'll move forward and propose it at the next board meeting. So anything else on the budget then? So. everything seems. I mean, without knowing what the wages are gonna be, but hopefully we have that in a timely fashion and
Right, yep, Mr. Chair.
yes.
So I guess to elaborate, so we're gonna have an increase in state shared revenues. I believe our state shared revenues are about 18,000 and we're seeing a 2,000% increase, which is like 300,000 roughly. And then our intent is that we will not have any levy allocated to the solid waste department. They have about $500,000 in tax levy budgeted in 2023, and our intent is to work through their budget and take the tax levy back so we can then allocate it elsewhere.
Okay, Supervisor Rick Pease.
Going back to Bob's point about insurance. Is there any way we talk to the insurance company and see how we could change a plan to keep the cost relative to where it is now?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
we have communications going on currently and always every year we have meetings with USI. The payroll, soon to be maybe HR manager is included in this discussion along with Kyle. So dollars in, dollars out, Kyle's part of it too. So yes, we have those discussions and I'm always challenging. One thing I'm always trying to present an idea about is becoming self-insured, but we're not ready yet for that.
Supervisor Scott Pease.
Is there any discount for less staffing?
Mr. Chair, not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
What?
I mean, there's less cost, right? For less
right.
employees is gonna be total less cost.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if, if that lowers, does that lower your insurance percentage? Could it?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
what drives the premium is usage.
Yeah.
And for the past couple of years, we've been very good. It's about claims. So, I mean, you could have less employees subscribing to our plan, but larger dollar usage. So yeah, it's all about that. In the end, it's just about the usage. So having less on our plan would probably not be a good thing. The more you have on our plan that don't use it, the better the numbers are.
We need everybody to be 25 years old.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, as things come up there, Kyle, you can let us know too on the budget, so if there's nothing more in the budget direction, next meeting date. Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. County board meetings on the 18th. Anytime after the 10th or 11th. Somebody's. It would be, but somebody's on a houseboat that day. Yeah. So. So yeah, I'm gone. I'm out that week, so.
Are you back by the 10th?
I'm back on the 10th, yeah. 10th work for everybody?
Might be a problem for me. I'll be starting my radiation by then, and I'm gonna set my radiation up, so I'm gonna be doing morning radiation. And I can change one way or another, but I have another meeting that afternoon.
Okay. I mean, could you do it virtually, maybe?
Yeah. Did you donate from your radiation? Yeah, I can lay in the radiation just to do it virtually.
Yeah.
Be pretty tough, because the radiation can be moved either mornings and or afternoon.
Okay.
So one of the meetings I'd have to go.
What about the 11th?
Solid waste meeting is later, 5 o'clock.
That's later, too.
We can move that.
What, on the tenth?
We could move property backwards to the south. Right. You wanna do that?
Okay, okay, so we're good at the tenth at 9 o'clock? Okay. Thanks for working that out, Jerry. Okay. Well, you guys can have it on the seventh otherwise. And
Yeah, really not here being charged.
okay, seeing nothing else, I declared the meeting adjourned at 10:20. So thanks and have a good weekend.